All right, so I think the two children are the central focus, and so one asks oneself, what is the context of their being where they are in front of this house, sitting on the doorstep, theoretically sort of engaging with each other, and then playing with this little bird, which is clearly their pet, little bird cage in front. And they look as though they're sort of working class children, dressed in their little smocks. It's not a portrait, the children, in my opinion. It's much more evoking some sort of sense of their being at a particular place at a particular time. And one assumes this is their home. And the threshold of any sort of dwelling is always important. So they are sort of situated right at the threshold of sort of inside and outside. So while you're looking at them, you're also drawn to that interior. And it seems quite simple in the sense that it doesn't give one many clues to their status, although it looks like more of a cottage than a grand home, that the pot plants and the sort of ivy on the outside sort of create a link between the inside and the outside. But that idea of threshold interests me in that one asks oneself, do they really belong outside or inside? Are they part of the family? The indication of a broom. Do they belong to this home, or are they perhaps outsiders that are just being painted in that position? Do they actually belong there or not? So there are those sorts of questions. The little bird is actually quite charming, and one imagines that this bird could be from the inside, that's been brought outside. So for me, there's a lot of interest in, that border between being outside and being inside, being belonging or perhaps on the periphery. The fact that they've got other toys here is also possibly something that had been inside that was brought outside. And so I suppose more than the actual children, it's their situation that interests me. The actual sort of texture of the place suggests, as I say, that it's a kind of modest home. It's a cottage, as I said. And I think that the chances are it evokes questions of, so where are their parents? Where are the people that aren't visible? Who are the people that aren't in the picture? And that is just sort of left to the viewer to decide where they belong. But as I say, for me, I'm not completely convinced that this is their home. They could be possibly the children of people who work there. I'm not convinced that they absolutely sort of belong, but that's just, as I see it. And as I say, their clothing is very much sort of modest, wearing a little smock, wearing a little cap, not dressed as if they were going to be painted. So if one assumes that there were subjects, that there were human subjects that were painted, then one is, or was it just a painting from an idea rather than from reality? I'm not sure about that. What else can I say? Have another little look. I suppose one thinks of them as brother and sister. In some way, they seem to be family, don't they? They have a kind of relaxed sense of being together, and they're both interested in that little bird. And let's say the bird for me is a kind of almost a little symbolic element, a little, a bird in a cage is always a sense of being trapped. And this little bird has been sort of given the freedom of being out of its cage for a little time. Maybe the children too. But that sense of being given the freedom and clearly a pet, but at the same time, as I said, the notion of being caged and seeing the little cage is so central in this painting. From an anthropological perspective, that would be significant. And then the elements of a broom, which indicates servitude to some degree, but balanced by the toys. So altogether, it doesn't have any finite, one doesn't know. It's really a story that one constructs around what one is looking at. But as I said earlier, the idea of inside and outside, and the fact that you the whole doorway is an entrance to something, and so you ask yourself, to what? To a home that's theirs, or to a home that they aspire to, or to something that is imagined to some degree.